tell you kids had it easy. Tell you kids, back in my day, we had it so rough or so much better. I can't tell anymore.
Anyways.
Every day we would wake up at 2 in the morning and go to the table for breakfast. We all lived in a closet, you see, so it was one room. And we would ask, me and my 64 brothers and 27 sisters, "What's for breakfast, Mum?" She would smack us with a shoe and say, "Cold beans." And if we complained and said, "But we had cold beans yesterday," because we had cold beans every day, she'd smack us all 5 times with a shoe and say, "Tom, it's all we can afford. I'm trying to feed a family of 93 with just half a silver Buckington." A silver Buckington was about the same as half a penny back in the day. Then we would head to school. We met up with the Johnson kids from down the road and walked 1,674 miles to school. On our way to school, we had to walk up to a mountain so tall it extended to outer space. When we got to the top of the mountain, we would see the Peterson boys on their fancy bikes, which they wouldn't make like they used to, and we would race them down the mountain. Then we'd go to school at 4 in the morning, and the headmaster would come up to us and say, "You bloody kids are late," and then he would smack
Beat
us
us with a stick.
10 times. Tell us we had a 7-year detention. Then we went to class, and Mr. Stevenson would say, "Okay, line up, kids," and he'd spank us up each about 60 times and hit us with a cane 40 times each. And it was 7 at night. And then when we got home, we'd ask, "What's for dinner, Mum?" And she'd smack us each 50 times with a pan and say, "Rotten cabbage." And if we complained, she would smack us each 100 times with a broom and say, "I'm trying to feed a family 154 on just an islet silver. Just you wait until your dad gets home." Now, an islet silver was worth about as much as a grain of sand. Then, when our dad got home from his job at the soot factory, he would...
Carry on, please.
1 minute.
Oh no.
Okay. He would get back from the soot factory. He would hit us all 180 times with his belt. If we had been naughty, he'd hit us another 600 times. Then at 1:58, Mum would say, "Okay, time for bed." Then we got into our potato sack, and she would hit us all with a shoe 8 times before we. I've got about like a quarter of the way through. On Saturday, we went down to Uncle Bob's farm to work. We'd have to walk 345 miles to the bus stop, then catch the Route 4 bus for 56 stops. Then we get on the bus and pay our fare of 3 Teddy Roses. A Teddy Rose is worth about as much as a flake of skin. Then, if the ticket inspector came to us, he hit us all 4 times with the baton. If any of us had lost our ticket, he'd hit us all 10 times again and throw us off the bus. And we'd have to walk the rest of the way when we got to the farm. Uncle Bob would drive to the gate in his tractor, hit us all 780 times with this crowbar. Tell us to get in his trailer so we could drive to the farmhouse. Then we had to plough the fields with a toothbrush in the blazing summer heat. Now they don't make summers like they used to, so it was about 1,345 degrees Spencer, or 67 degrees centigrade, using your newfangled metric system. Then we would have to milk the cows. Now they didn't make cows like they used to, so each cow weighed about 459 hogsheads, or 3.2 tons in your newfangled metric system. If you touched a cow's udder, it would kick you in and you would die. So you had to be really careful when you milk the cows. Then when we were done, Uncle Bob would say, "Okay kids, time for your pocket money." And he would give us about 9 copper Jemimas each. Now copper Jemima is worth about 1 political promise each. And he beat us 16 times with his tractor before he left. On Sundays, we'd meet the Johnson boys and go down to the river. Now, they don't make rivers like these. So this river would be about as wide as the whole America and as deep as the Marine Street. And it was filled with liquid tungsten. We'd play by the old oak tree near the river, climbing on it and building tree houses and such now. They don't make trees like they used to, so this tree had a trunk as thick as a city, and was tall enough that the branches on top could scrape the moon. One day, little Jimmy fell from the top of the tree. When he hit the ground, the only bit of his body we could recognize was his left eyeball. We picked up all the bits, rushed him to the doctor's surgery. Dr. James says, "Oh, it's a little scratch, little Jimmy, don't worry. Pop a plaster on it and you'll be alright." And he gave little Jimmy a plaster and lollipop, and he was okay. After we finished playing by the river, we'd go into town and get some candy. Now, back in the day, you could give the shopper one bronze winglet, which is about as worth as much as a cigarette butt, and he'd give you the entire stock of the store. So we'd go and get our candy, and we'd go into town square and eat it. Now we didn't have any of our fancy food laws back then, so there's all kind of stuff in our candy. Bleach, rust, bones, you name it. So we would always get a little hyper after our candy. One day when we were hyper, we went up to Mr. Boris's car, the only car in town, and touched it. As we touched it, we saw Dash stomping down the street holding a belt. "You kids having fun while I worked all day in the soot factory just so you can have a grilled water for tea every night." We were sure he was going to smack us. But then he said, "No, I have got a better idea. I'll take you to see Mr. Henderson. He'll see you right now." Now, Dad had told us about Mr. Henderson. Mr. Henderson was a veteran from the Great War, where he got a really bad injury, when he never knew what it was. Dad walked us down to the pub, and we saw a left testicle propped up on a peg leg. "Mr. Henderson," said Dad, "I have some kids here who need a good whooping."
Oh my god.
Then Mr. Henderson picked up the entire pub, and it was 4,006 times. And Dad said, "Right, I got to go back to the soot factory. You kids run on home now." By now it was 1 p.m, which meant it was curfew. While we were out in the town square, we heard a man shouting, "Oh, you bloody kids, it's curfew." We turned around and saw the constable holding his bat. He hit us 160,265 times with his baton. This put us in the goals for 1 minute.
Most time being beaten.
60,123,865 years now. They don't make goals like they used to. This one had 5mm thick steel walls and a single hole in the top to let some light. We were in there for about 13,526 years, until Mum baked the constable some cardboard pies so he'd let us out. Then she hit us all 1,292 times to the washboard, and grounded us for the rest of our lives. So you come complain to me about nonsense like not having TV while hiking 25 miles to school.